Oat milk latte, yum. Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. So happy you're here. My name's Ellie. I'm a certified personal trainer, women's fitness specialist, and certified nutrition coach through Precision Nutrition. I love to make videos all things fitness, lifestyle, health, vegan yummy food. So if you like any of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. But today's video, we're going through 8 really commonly asked fitness health questions. So some of these I got over my Instagram. I just asked you guys what you might want to know, what you're interested in. And then majority of these I actually just got from good old Google. They're questions everybody has when they're first getting started. So I thought it'd be really helpful to go through these. And before we get started, I do want to preface this video with encouraging you guys to not need to find the perfect answer to all these questions or to find the perfect fitness routine, because it doesn't exist. And I am all about busting the idea of all or nothing, because generally when we have an all or nothing mindset, which I myself struggle with, we usually get nothing more than we ever are gonna get all. A lot of topics in the fitness world, even some experts can disagree on, usually when you're getting more into the nitty-gritty stuff, but most of today's topics are pretty general. So just take things with a grain of salt, kind of apply it to your own life. But I just wanted to say that, to ditch the all or nothing mentality and not need to have the perfect answer. We just always want to be doing the best we know how, okay? So good first step, watching this video. Okay, let's get into answering these questions. Mana decided to join us for all of these questions. So let's get into it. The first one is, what is the best diet to follow? So this is a very common question. I have a straight up answer for you. There is no best diet to follow. So there's plenty of diets out there. I'm sure you've heard of many of them, but no single diet is going to fit every person. We all have different preferences, allergies, foods local to us, budgets, all sorts of things that lead to our food choices. So there is no best diet for everyone, but there are some general guidelines that do work for all diets and that are good for all of us to follow. Those are to center your meals mainly around whole foods. They're gonna be the most nutrient dense, your body's going to process them the best. Doesn't mean you can't have treats now and again, but to have majority of your meals, majority of your food coming from whole sources. The other thing is to have a good balance of macronutrients. If you don't know what macros are, they're proteins, carbs, and fats. All 3 of those serve different purposes in your body. Fats, for example, are good for your hormones. Protein is good for muscle repair and building. Carbs are your body's preferred source of energy. So they have more purposes than that, but that's just like a basic overview. So getting a good variety of proteins, carbs, and fats will make sure you're getting everything you need and your body is getting all the nutrients it needs. And then one thing I do want to say about protein, it's good to eat a higher protein diet anyway, but if you're wanting to build muscle, it's an important one as well. I personally recommend people eat between 0.6 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. I don't feel you necessarily ever need more than a gram per pound of body weight. Maybe if you're like competing or something. I do think that people can kind of go overboard on the protein. So even 0.8, I think that's what I'm at right now, is like 0.8, 0.9 grams per pound of body weight. Last thing I want to say about diets and nutrition is I don't love meal plans. They are in general just kind of a short-term thing. And it's a very common question that personal trainers get asked, is if they're going to get a meal plan, which if you have a trainer and they are not a registered dietitian, they should not be giving you meal plans. It's actually technically illegal. Other than that, the reason I don't love meal plans is just because they don't fit very well with life. I think they can kind of be used in, again, competing, but they're not very flexible for day-to-day life, and they kind of encourage the idea of having to eat perfectly. So that's why I have not prescribed meal plans to any of my clients, and I don't necessarily recommend them. All right, guys, we're on to the second question, and it's a 2-for-1. So this is, how often should I be working out and how long should my workouts be? So again, this is not gonna be a direct answer because it completely depends on you and the details of your life, your skill level, where you're starting from, your goals, what type of workouts you're doing, what type of workouts you enjoy, just many factors. If you are just starting out and you're a sedentary person, even doing 1 day of exercise a week is great. It's improvement, you're getting your body moving. One thing I wouldn't suggest for people that are starting out is to go from 0 days a week to 5 or 6, your body's not gonna be ready for it. So you kind of just have to assess where you're at and baby step into it. I feel like a general recommendation for days of week is like between 3 and 5, but that's not even to say you couldn't be working out every day. It just depends on the type of workout you're doing. If you're doing very high intensity stuff, you should not be working out every single day. You do need some rest days in there. I recommend in general like 1 to 2. I personally take 2 active rest days a week, which just means I'm walking around, doing mobility type stuff, nothing that's like high intensity. So yes, it's just really gonna be dependent on you and your situation. For how long your workouts should be, again, really depends on the type of workout you're doing. If you're doing super high intensity like plyometric training or HIIT training, I feel like even 15 minutes is plenty. If you're doing weightlifting, I suggest about an hour to maybe 90 minutes. I do feel like anything over 2 hours with weightlifting is just excessive. So that's kind of my general recommendation. But again, it's gonna be completely tailored to you. I always recommend seeking out and finding a really good coach when you're getting started that can kind of help you navigate this, make sure you are not going too hard, too fast, and that your workouts, you're getting a good balance of rest, recovery, pushing yourself in the gym. This is one of the questions that just really applies to not needing to have the perfect answer, because there is no perfect answer. And one last thing I want to say about how often you should be working out, how long you should be working out, just because there's like a general guidance that even I give or someone else gives of 3 to 5 a week doesn't mean that 2 days a week isn't going to show you results over time. Doesn't mean you can't do 10-minute workouts. So don't get stuck on a number. Just focus on being healthy and making improvements, doing what you can with your schedule. So much that comes into play with it. So it's hard to give a perfect answer. Okay, our next really commonly asked question is, how do I get toned? How do I achieve that toned look? So first thing you want to know about getting toned is that the term toned was created by the fitness industry to kind of target women and get them into gyms and buying gym memberships. So muscles do not tone. They either grow or they shrink, or they stay the same size. The idea of looking toned, what you're actually aiming to do is build muscle and drop down on body fat. The best way to go about this is include some type of resistance training, some weightlifting to help you build or maintain muscle. And then losing body fat, the main thing that helps with this is being in a calorie deficit, so eating less calories than you're expending. If you are just getting started, you're a beginner, it's more likely that you could do these things at the same time. It's called body recomposition. If you've been lifting for a while, it's a little bit harder to do these things at the same time. And as with anything, it's kind of better when you focus on one goal at a time. You're gonna get farther with it. Ultimately, building muscle requires food and resistance training. You need to be eating enough, but dropping fat requires being in a calorie deficit. So it can get a little bit complicated when you try to do them at the same time, which is again why I always suggest getting a coach and kind of having them guide you through it and help you make decisions. But yeah, that's what it means to tone, is to be muscular and lean. Okay, question number 4 is, how much weight should I be using when weightlifting/strength training? If you are a beginner, I do recommend, especially like with lower body exercises, starting out with just your body weight until the movement feels more normal and you feel like you have the form more down. And then on exercises where I ever feel a little bit apprehensive or I'm new to the exercise, I will generally pick up a weight that I feel like is maybe even less than I could lift, just to make sure everything goes to plan. We don't want to risk injury. Past that, you just want to be feeling like you're challenging yourself. So if you finish your rep range, say you're doing 10 reps and you get to the 10th rep and you feel not challenged at all, then it's definitely time to go up in weight. You want to be choosing weights that you can complete within range of your reps. So say it's 10, you want to be like 8 to 12, somewhere in there. So you want to be able to complete the reps. You want to still have good form, but you also want to be challenged. So those are your 3 things to kind of look for when choosing weights. The last few reps of your set should be significantly harder than the first few reps, but you should be keeping form as much as possible. The last important thing I want to say about choosing weight is to focus on yourself, focus on how your body feels. Do not let your neighbor next to you squatting dictate how much weight you lift. It's more so about the way your body feels, that you're challenging yourself incrementally over the weeks, not the number of how much weight you're lifting. So just focus on you and only you. Moving on to question number 5, which is, how long will it take to see results? So my biggest recommendation for this is to be tracking your progress in some way. There's multiple ways to do this. It doesn't just have to be like weight and measurements. It could also be progress photos, which I really love, how your clothes are feeling, how your energy levels are, your strength gains in the gym, like how much more weight you're lifting or your form's getting better. So keeping track of something, one of those things in some way, is going to help you remain consistent. It's a very important thing to have patience when you are on your fitness journey because results do take time. But the thing I love about tracking progress, like with my progress photos, is the progress is happening so slowly that you don't see it, because right there in front of yourself, you see yourself every day. But when you put your photos side by side after like even 2 weeks, I've seen slight differences in those, which seeing those slight differences in just a matter of weeks does help to motivate you to keep going. You have to manage your expectations because again, results do take time. I think at first people get motivated to get into health and fitness for the results, but then as you learn more and you start working out and you start feeling more empowered, it becomes more about the whole journey. I really recommend measuring the small wins and not being so fixated on the end goal, and that's how you will remain more consistent and eventually more likely get to your end goal. So be patient, track your progress. I recommend like having a little check-in with yourself once a week, making sure you're on track, setting new goals, that whole kind of a thing. You got it. Okay, just like that, we're at question number 6, which is, should I work out if I am sore? So the first thing I want to say about being sore is that soreness does not equal progress, and soreness is not a good indicator to measure if your workout was successful or not. A lot of the times if you're really sore, it's a good sign that you went a little bit too hard at your last session. So the goal isn't to be sore, but it is okay to have a little bit soreness here and there. That's gonna happen if you start a new program, if you're just getting into it, that whole sort of thing. But it's never the goal to be like cripplingly sore. If your soreness is not recovering within like a 2 to 3 day period, that's probably a sign that you went too hard, and I would go a little bit lighter the next time you train that session, hit that group of muscles. But as far as working out when you're sore, if you are extremely sore, I wouldn't recommend it. I would take a day to maybe foam roll, do some mobility, eat really nutritious. If you're a little bit sore, it is definitely okay to work out, and it could actually help you recover faster, get some blood pumping in there, break up the lactic acid. But if you are sore and you choose to work out, this isn't a session to PR and try and go really hard. It's more of a session to just get your body moving. So I wouldn't go into a sore session with the intention of improving or training harder. I would go into it with the intention of getting your blood pumping, getting your body moving, that whole sort of thing. The way I structure my workouts to kind of avoid training things too often is I'll do a leg day, and then I have upper body day, and then I have like a rest day, cardio day, and then I hit legs again. So there was like a 2-ish day period between them. But again, that's just gonna kind of depend on your schedule and the way you set up your workouts. But I think a good general thing is to have about a 2-day gap between training the same muscle group. Okay, question number 7 is a very common one as well, and that is, what is the best form of cardio for fat loss and muscle retention or keeping muscle? This is between either HIIT, high intensity interval training, or LISS, which is low intensity steady state. So an example of HIIT is doing like all out sprints for 15 seconds and then resting for a minute for like a total of 10 to 15 minutes. And then LISS, low intensity steady state, is like going on a walk for 30 minutes or something like that. Those aren't the exact definitions, but kind of an example of each. So when it comes to fat loss and muscle retention, HIIT is going to be more of a muscle preserving workout than LISS is, but that is not to say that HIIT is right for you or right in every situation. The trade-offs with HIIT is that it is more obviously high intensity, it's in the name. It's a higher stress exercise. There's more risk of injury. So it really depends on the person where they're starting from. If you are a type A high stress person, you're not getting a lot of sleep, your nutrition's not really in a good spot, doing HIIT could do more damage than good. So again, this really depends on the person. And in that case, we would probably choose LISS. Now, I think if your goal is fat loss, cardio is kind of like the last thing I like to add in. I like to prioritize weight training, prioritize having a good nutrition, calorie level for fat loss, and then as the final method, we could add in a sprinkle of cardio. Again, you're gonna have to assess your own situation. Also, a whole thing is which cardio form do you enjoy doing more? So right now for me, I'm doing LISS a few times a week for like 20 to 30 minutes because I feel like it's kind of meditative. I'm just kind of hitting my step goals for the day. I don't wanna over stress myself out. I'm prioritizing my weight sessions and I wanna have majority of my energy for those. But maybe as we get more into summer, if I feel like my stress levels are good, if I'm sleeping well, I might start adding in 1 to 2 sessions a week of HIIT. The basic answer is that HIIT is going to be more muscle preserving, but I don't want you to take that and run with it, no pun intended, because HIIT is not right for everyone and majority of people are going to be better suited for LISS. And that's also not to say that just because you do LISS cardio and you're walking that your muscle's just gonna deteriorate. That's not what's gonna happen unless you are going way too hard on the cardio and not eating enough and not weight training. So there you have it. Just like that, we're at our last question, number 8, which is how important do I think compound lifts are? Are they essential? So a compound lift, if you don't know, is any movement that involves multiple muscle groups. So a barbell squat is a compound lift, a deadlift is a compound lift, bench press, compound lift, shoulder press, compound lift. And then the other side of this, like an isolation exercise, is like a glute kickback where it isolates pretty much just one muscle group, one joint movement. Bicep curl is an isolation exercise. So those are the differences. Do I think that compound lifts are important? 100%. And of course it depends on your goals, but if your goals are to build muscle, drop body fat, get stronger, compound lifts are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So I 100% think that they are important. However, I don't think that they're necessarily essential. If you are someone who doesn't work out and you're just getting into it, you're still going to see improvements even by just doing isolation exercises. But I do strongly suggest doing compound lifts, working on them, getting better at them. So yeah, that's my short and simple answer, is that compound lifts are definitely important. You could still make progress without them, but I would prioritize working them, getting better at them. All right, you guys, just like that, we finished all of the questions. If you have any further questions or want clarification or just want to talk about any of these topics, feel free to comment down below. I would love to chat with you guys. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up if it helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe because I upload every week. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Bye.